I am Ben Doc Askins, the psychedelic science war storyteller, and this is the Anti-Hero's Journey podcast. What's up, anti-heroes? Doc Askins coming at you. One more of these Q5 podcasts that I love to do, where I ask some of my favorite people on planet Earth some of my favorite questions in preparation for ketamine-assisted psychotherapy sessions in my clinics. But we're working without the assistance of ketamine today. It's just straight sober. My brother from another mother, Nate Berry, coming at you. He is the director of athletic optimization at Wild Health currently, whatever that means. He's a wildly healthy guy. I'm a mildly healthy guy, and we're going to put our heads together and tell a few of his stories. I asked him for a bio, and he sent me just a guy trying to be a dude. So now I just get to make up a bunch of lies about him, and you guys can Google him and figure out what you actually think about the man, the myth, the legend, Nate Berry, strength and conditioning coach, football background. I don't think he walks on water. He probably sinks like a rock, but we're going to have some fun chopping up, figuring out exactly who he is and what he does and what it means to be a guy trying to be a dude. Nate, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Appreciate it, brother. It's really exciting to be here. I always enjoy our conversations and the time we get to spend together. I just appreciate your perception of life and how you live life. And I feel like I always get insight every time we chat or spend time together. So couldn't be more thrilled to be here.
Yeah, feeling is 1,000% mutual. And I'm super excited and jealous of all of the people who are going to get to hear this podcast and kind of hear from you for the first time. Because I remember some of the first times that we got to talk, and always enlightening. Always eye-opening. I'm always learning something new. And now a whole bunch of people get a chance to learn from the guy trying to be the dude. So let's get rolling with question number one. What's your story?
Yeah. I'll try to keep it as succinct as possible, but I think it's relevant to kind of lay out the story to then dive into some of the other questions as well. But I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, the great state of Oregon. I think it's one of the best states out there. Just its dynamic of culture and geography, from the coast to the mountains, the city. I mean, it's just such a great, beautiful state. So feel very lucky that I was able to grow up in such a beautiful playground. I was lucky enough to have phenomenal parents, and I truly believe that they were meant to be my parents, but grateful to have such a great family and strong family bonds growing up. I would say growing up, I was lucky enough to be in a very diverse community, just from a socioeconomic background, from a race background. I just grew up with a wide variety of people, which I found a lot of value in. I felt like I was a bit of a chameleon and can kind of, adapt and be in a lot of different groups and had a lot of different friend groups. I actually tried to not be, a cliquey individual, but was able to kind of bridge the gap between, different groups within our schools. I have a deep connection to sports growing up. I always loved sports. I just love the team aspect. I love being a part of a team. I love just striving for a goal. I love to win. I hate to lose. Just like every competitive cell in my body. And I just love the preparation too. Like I would just, like even thinking about basketball, I would, play basketball and could just go for hours and hours and hours nonstop. And just love sports. I didn't resonate with school much growing up. I didn't resonate with the curriculum. I didn't resonate about how it was being taught. I also had some learning disorders, some ADHD and some other learning disorders that just made it probably more difficult, but just staying still, being stuck in a seat, being just kind of thrown this really boring curriculum I didn't resonate with. I never did well in school. And I was able to get to college and play sport in college. I went to the University of Idaho. I played for 2 years and had 4 knee surgeries, and actually had to end up calling it a career after those 4 years or 4 surgeries. And at that time was kind of having a bit of an identity crisis. Sport was definitely a big part of my identity, and was definitely trying to figure out, okay, after sport, what's next? And I remember having this realization. I was never the most talented guy, and I never will be the most talented guy. But I always kind of had this like deep level of thinking where I just resonated with philosophers and kind of that way of thinking. And if everyone was going one way, I was the person kind of going the other way, and definitely kind of going opposite of the trends. And I remember having this realization, and I saw the statue of the thinking man, and realized like, okay, I'm never going to be talented, but I don't want to just be yeah, exactly. I don't want to be the dumb jock, right? I need to be well-rounded. I have to be very, very open-minded. I can't be closed thinking, because it's going to close my ability to have a breadth of knowledge. And if I felt like if I had this breadth of knowledge, then I could solve more problems. And I realized I would have to work hard as well to overcome my lack of talent. And so I was kind of formulating like, okay, what's successful to me? How can I be successful with the tools I was given? And those were kind of the principles that kind of led me forward. I knew I had to do something that I was passionate about. And at the time, I still had the passion for sport. And so I actually got into strength and conditioning, which was always I loved being in the weight room. From the time I was young, my dad would, take me to go lift some weights, and he would teach me when I was young, and that kind of developed this love for strength training. And again, I was always loved the preparation part of the game. And I had a terrible experience just with the preparation side of sport that, I felt like I wanted to offer athletes a better experience. And so that's kind of what got me into strength and conditioning. And I started pretty young. I started with 19, and I did it until I was 34, with a bunch of different spots and working with a bunch of different teams. And so 15 years in that career, which seems like a long time at that age. But I think along the process, I realized at some point, probably pretty early on, that I wasn't going to solve people's problems with just exercise. Obviously, there's like this, coach-athlete relationship, where you're trying to empower the athlete, that you're trying to create this bond, that you're trying to motivate these athletes, which I always loved, and I always empathized and could connect with the athletes. But I always knew that it's like, okay, exercise is so one-dimensional. And I was always kind of fascinated with all of these other qualities of human performance, the psychological side, the effort, the soul, the spirit of a person, the love of the sport, all of the like recovery factors that go into being able to display your skill level at the highest level possible continually over and over again. And then on top of that, the skill development that it takes to be successful. So I, was kind of in this exercise space, but was kind of interested in a lot more than that. And that's what I think kind of led me to the point I am now. But looking back on my strength and conditioning career, I really do think I was trying to prove to myself that I could thrive in this like this culture that was like ego, masculine, like just this tough man culture, that I could thrive in that. And I was trying to prove to myself that I was able to do that. And with that, there was, I sacrificed my health. I had a pretty big health scare. I sacrificed a marriage. So I think there was a lot of failure in that, which I wouldn't give back for anything. And obviously it's a part of my journey. But, I really actually do enjoy what I'm doing now with Wild Health, and supporting the athlete on a personal level, kind of outside of the environment of the actual working for the team, there's just a lot of there's a lot of bias, there's a lot of politics within sport that really take out the essence of what it should be, and that's really being there for the athlete 100%. So I really enjoy that side of things. I think too, early on, I was really obsessed with mastery. Like again, just this idea of, okay, I need to be super well-rounded. I need to not be just body, but body, mind, and spirit. But I need to actually have this singular focus, and I compound that over time, then I will be successful. And so I've kind of been fascinated with the process of mastery. And that has always resonated with me. And I always felt like, okay, if I could, get really, really good at something, that someone would end up, at some point pay me a lot of money for that. So that's kind of was my process of, really trying to master my craft as much as possible. Kind of even looking back in the last, 37 years of my life, I would probably categorize that first 37 years as a huge failure. And the reason I say that is because I've fallen short of every goal I've set for myself, whether it be professionally, financially, spiritually, physically, psychologically. I've always kind of fallen short. And so with that kind of high expectation and standard for myself, I really would say like I've failed on hitting all of my goals, which is such a learning process in of itself. Because delayed doesn't mean denied, and I'm still on my path, and I'm definitely more of a visionary dreamer than I am a dweller. I don't like to dwell on my past at all. I'm very forward focused. And that's obviously the process I had to get to where I'm at today and where I'm going. But I've definitely been able to enjoy the failures a lot more, instead of, having to, feel like I have to win so many different things. I've set less goals nowadays, and I'm becoming more just in tune with the process. I'm becoming more, Bruce Lee like flow like water versus trying to, solve every problem, with as much aggression and like I have to do this, I have to check this box, I have to meet this goal, and definitely kind of been into with the flow of life, and been much more process oriented, and realizing in time of those failures, it motivates you more, it develops you more. That's where you get the most out of life, so you can kind of reach that next peak. And there's definitely been some peaks in my career, but probably more valleys than peaks, which again is the process of sharpening my sword and ultimately hopefully getting to the peak of the mountain. I would say within that journey or that story, however you want to call it, I've always been super aware. I have just this hyper of awareness of being accepted by people. Like I had to be accepted by everybody. And I would say I've been much more in tune with who my people are, like who are the people in my tribe. And I've tried to please everybody. I've tried to be well liked by everybody. And I've always been like, had this like self-doubt because I've been a different thinker. I've been kind of the guy that goes against the grain, but I've always had this like intuitive attunement to truth and to where to seek knowledge, and kind of what's useless, what's BS, and always striving to find that truth or find that deeper level of knowledge. And I've always had this like self-doubt because I'm such a different thinker than most of society. And I think I'm becoming such more confident in my thought process and how I think and who my people are, who my tribe is. And I definitely know, like, if I'm in an environment where people don't see my genius qualities or my greatest qualities, and they don't support that, and that's completely fine. I'll find my people. I'll find the people that support me, And that's been definitely a learning process again over the last 37 years.
God, I just love you, dude. Like hearing our story all at one time like that is it's just amazing to me. You are such a good freaking coach. You are like the embodiment of everything everybody should ever want as a coach. And it doesn't even matter the sport. Like the sport of life, I want Nate Berry to be my coach. You just said so many things. Like we're obviously, you and I, entangled molecules at some level or another, whatever that means. But, like folks with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, are just some of my favorite people on the whole planet. I have what I think I like to call it attention surplus hyperactivity disorder. The hyperactivity component overlaps significantly, so it confuses people, but I can kind of hyper focus instead of all the time, instead of having difficulties with some of that stuff. But everything you're saying about, Jeet Kune Do and Bruce Lee and being the teacup and all of those sorts of things, really resonate with me strongly. And I'm happy to be a member of your tribe, if you'll have me. And I was thinking about what you had to say there about, feeling like you've never met any of your goals. And I believe you. I'm not going to question any of that at all. I just imagine that you're kind of shooting for the stars over and over again and maybe hopefully landing on the moon along the way. But I just think of this quote. I don't even remember who said it, that mistakes are never final and failure is never fatal. It's just courage that counts. And that's what I hear you telling in your story. I hear a lot of courage going on in Nate Berry's story. And I'm glad that you're willing to share it with me. We talk a little bit about the past. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if it's stubbornness, but like it's just innate within me just to keep striving, keep pushing. I'll probably continue to fail many, many more times, but at some point it's going to click. But there's a stubbornness to me to keep striving and keep learning and keep progressing through this journey called life. So
yeah, so consolidating, your story as you told it there, looking at the past, now looking ahead to the future, what are your intentions?
Yeah, I think on the macro level, I think my intention is just to, fulfill my purpose here on, on this plane of Earth and my time here to the highest level possible. Whatever that is, I think I have a good idea, but to serve at the highest level and to make sure I fulfill my purpose during my time here on Earth. And so I think that's just kind of the overarching goal. Now, I think on the micro level, I think it's important to walk with an intention every single day. So that's a part of my process of, waking up with and setting an intention for the day. And so I think that's kind of the micro principle that drives me, and making sure, again, less goal driven, more process oriented, but having objective markers and feedback loops in my environment to make sure I'm striving towards that North Star and that I'm progressing and that I'm moving in the direction that I'm ultimately continue to develop in every area of life. And so, as my relationships, professionally, personally, mentally, spiritually, that I'm always progressing in those areas. So again, macro level, fulfill my purpose at the highest level possible, and then having just a daily intention that I walk with.
Give me an example of a daily intention you've got in the rotation on a regular basis, if you're willing to.
Yeah, I would say, and this kind of goes back to, I think some of what I can do to reach my purpose is, just a broad daily intention is live with love and service. I think that is one of my two greatest qualities that I bring to this earth is love and service. is I know that I can love deeply, and I can, use love in all my interactions and how I treat people, and then be of service. Be of service to the people that I'm coaching, the people that I'm working with, the people in my tribe. So that's, I would say, one that kind of shows up on a continual factor, and one I keep coming back to is really that love and service. And if I don't have a very specific intention for that day, usually that's when I fall back on. That always leads me in the right direction.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. So what are you grateful for?
Yeah, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for this time on Earth and this plane. I'm grateful for connection to, to Mother Nature. I'm grateful for the people I have in my tribe. I'm so grateful for Kelly, my girlfriend, my two dogs. I would say on the happiness scale, having a connection to dogs on a body water with Kelly, my girlfriend, is probably up there with one of the greatest things on earth. So that's pretty high on my happiness scale. But yeah, I'm grateful for the people that I get to meet, the people that I'm lucky enough to connect with, like yourself, Ben, and then spending time in nature. Those are probably the things that I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So carrying your story and your intentions and everything that you're grateful for, what are you creating?
Yeah, I would say I'm really trying to create the ultimate care and development process for human performance. And it's very broad spectrum, and that's going to take a lot of years, and I'm probably not going to do it myself, just because there's so much to learn about the human body and human physiology, and there's a lot of things that are out of our control, and you could say divine, but with divine intervention. But I think with sport, there's kind of this four coactive model. It's technical, tactical, physical, and psychological. So those are the four aspects and four principles of sport. But I believe that the foundation of that is truly the health of an individual, the soul, the spirit of an individual that drives that four coactive model, that creates the foundation for how robust those four qualities can be in sport. So if we can really kind of develop that soul, spirit, and health of an individual, then we can really evolve the other qualities of human performance. So that's really what I'm trying to get to the root of. And that's a continual process. That's, learning for people like yourself, and continue to ask great questions, continue to put them into practice. And then obviously just fortunate enough to work with the athletes that trust me and, their care and their development, and continuing to work with them. And that's the greatest thing that I can ask for, is for them to be fully involved in, in that process, and give me the feedback of, what worked well and what didn't work well. So it's just, again, going back to gratitude, so grateful for the athletes that I get to work with on that front. And we're all kind of creating that together. And that's different for every person. And that's a big part of it too, right? It's the individual process. So everyone has strengths and limitations, and it's really allowing their genius to shine at the ultimate level, and how that makes most sense within the sport.
God, you're just such a good coach. Like, it just flows right out of you so naturally. Like, I think every T-baller all the way up to every tier 1 operator in the military should have a coach like you, bro. So let's land this podcast with the final question, Q5. Who are you really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a process that I'm still trying to figure out, right? I think it's always evolving. I think I'm living more and more in my truth, as I continue to grow and develop and learn more about myself. And I think, trying to be as honest as possible within that story, I would say that, fundamentally is who I am. And, making sure that I live in my truth, that I believe in who I am. I believe in all of my great qualities, my genius qualities, and I'm making sure that I'm putting the effort in to sharpen those qualities. So I don't think I held anything back, and I'm always very, very honest about who I am, and making sure that I have those honest conversations with myself, that I can look myself in the mirror and know that I was honest with myself through this process. But it's evolving, like I said, and I'm trying to uncover and figure out who I truly am, and in having, honestly, great people like you, just to have that mirror of who I want to be, and who I want to develop into. Just having those people in my life has been such a game changer for me.
It's been a blast so far for me too. It's been a really good podcast as well. You got any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
I don't know if I have any final words of wisdom. I mean, I hope somebody picked up a helpful hint or a principle that works well for them and what they need to do. But I would you'd say it's all about growth. It's all about like we were talking about early on before we jumped on the podcast, of trying to truly live like a child, right? To almost be that Peter Pan. And especially when we're in a society where we have so many things that, pull us out of that play-like, childlike, essence that we should live life and enjoy life with. There's just so many nonsensical things in our society that just, make life a lot more stressful. If we can kind of get rid of those things, and really just focus on the things that matter, and truly be like Peter Pan, I think that's ultimately the goal of life, right?
Yeah, we just need to have more food fights and more bangarang and more shouts to all my lost boys.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
If 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 somebody wanted to connect with you, where could they find you as far as coaching and all of that stuff goes? What's the best way to get some of that Nate Berry knowledge?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can find me through Wild Health and their website, or you can reach out to me individually. The best email would probably be coach.nateberry@gmail.com. And I always love to connect with great people and have great conversations and support people in their dreams and goals, and how I can, be a part of that and support them as best I can. So
I appreciate you coming on the podcast, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Excited about all the things you're doing, and glad I could be a snippet in that process.
Yeah, me too. I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy.
All right, Doc out.